Good day, and welcome to Far Reaches. We are four people from similar parts of the world who have wound up chasing different dreams and living different lives. We are Richard, Raleigh, Joel, and Micah. Richard and Micah are from Southeast Oregon, from two small ranching communities known as Pine Creek and Plush. Raleigh and Joel are from Northeast Oregon, from the Pendleton area. We met through college, mutual friends, and heard of stories of each other. Somehow wound up being at the same place at the same time. See, we live and work in different parts of the U.S. now and have all taken different paths to get to where we are. We all talk separately and live far apart. So we decided we should try and talk more together. We hope you come along and enjoy. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the Far Reaches podcast. You found us. You reached out, so to speak, and you found us. Two ballers right now. Two baller, not that way, but I'm Micah. That is Richard. We are a couple reachers short at the moment. I think Joel is finishing up a round of golf and grabbing a cocktail, but he will be here soon. Raleigh's running errands around the valley. He didn't know if he's going to make it or not, but we're gonna press ahead and keep on balling because that's what reachers do. So we'll just go for that. And you probably couldn't hear that music as well as you should have because I didn't share it like I was supposed to. But oh well, it gives you good feedback and pisses people off that are driving down the road trying to hear what we're doing. So welcome to the Far Reaches podcast. We're going to start still, even though there's only two of us, we'll start with our traditional reach around. So Richard, this is kind of a Dutch, what's that, Dutch udder or Dutch rudder? Yeah. What was that on Zach and Mary Make a Porno? Yeah. So Dutch rudder.
One of the most underappreciated Kevin Smith movies.
God, that was a great movie. So
I will tell you, Kevin Smith movies you should see if you haven't seen them that are outside of the norm are Yoga Hosers, classic, and Red State, which is
yeah,
a very underappreciated movie and one of his best. And when people say that he's a one-trick director,
no way. Yeah,
watch Red State because it is disturbing.
I don't know if I've ever seen that whole thing or not.
Holy cow, man. That's an intense movie. And I think what makes it so intense is it's like it could be real. It's like not that far stretched.
Oh, that's kind of gets to you, especially when it comes from him. But yeah, he's got it's an eclectic collection. I'll give it that too. It's, it's not all in one bucket. That's for damn sure.
Well, I get it. Now there's the Kevin, what is it? The, what does they call it? It's like the Jay and Silent Bob, the View Askew universe. So all of his stories are all tied together like Quentin Tarantino's.
Oh, wow.
But his lap over into Marvel Universe because of Stan Lee. Because Stan Lee is in Mallrat.
Yeah.
And then in Captain Marvel, Stan Lee's on the train reading the Mallrat script. So it ties the View Askew universe.
Yeah. He's reading the Mallrat script. That is hilarious. And deep. That's like hurts the brain kind of stuff right there.
Not only can Tarantino do meta, so can Kevin Smith.
It makes sense. They're both pretty cerebral in that regard. So yeah, wow. I love it how we already got one wheel off in the ditch and we didn't even start it. That's perfect. When two of the most random reachers are left to their own accord, this is gonna happen. So I live with it. So what's going on in your world, man? How's things out west? You guys getting some rain, snow?
I just had a horrifying thought.
Okay.
If the two of us are random, that makes Joel our anchor.
In some ways, yes. You always have to have that person sitting back going, what? Why? No, I don't. That's bad idea. I don't like this. Training time out. I think you need that person every once in a while. So either ignore or say, maybe you're onto something here.
Never have to worry about Rawls being grounded.
It's just The Rock, the Rawls. Yeah, he's like a Rolling Stone. He's settled in a little spot now.
Yeah, John Wayne's too conservative for Raleigh. He's suspicious about Ronald Reagan.
Yes, he had some liberal tendencies. So Rush wasn't quite far enough to the right. So it's that's what we say. It's all good. It's even better to talk about it when they're not here. That's kind of funny. So,
yeah.
Poor bastards.
My wife watched the last. She checked out the last podcast of Moving the Bulls. She was thoroughly entertained. So
yeah, I think I made the little clip of the episode was actually her in the pickup. I think is what I caught for your picture. So I kind of had to giggle at that. A little thumbnail. That's the word I was drastically searching for. Was the thumbnail. It was all of us, and then for your picture, it was the pickup with Al driving. So it was pretty bueno.
Well, we've been going 9-0 around here. So did a little subbing in Paisley last week. That was fun. First time subbing in Paisley.
Are they? Oh wow, yeah. They still do the 4-day week there?
Yep, they're 4-day. They're a charter school now.
Oh, cool.
So there's this really cool. So how am I going to phrase this? I was amazed about the difference, and I have high regards for all our local schools and all these rural schools. They all do a great job, but the kids were so focused and just quiet, did their work, and were pleasant, what you'd expect from Paisley kids. But
certainly,
I have to say, I think that the charter school, I'm sure there's mismanaged bad charter schools, but this one is particularly well run and takes in kids from all over the world, and they have a dorm and everything. And then they have the local kids, great staff. Just it reminds me a lot of when you and I were going to school. Like we had a good time, but we really, when we were in class, we were learning stuff and exploring new stuff. And yeah, so just it was real. I like subbing in Lake County. It's all the kids are great, all the schools are great. They do their best job. That this was just a little bit, the charter school element I think just made it a little bit different. I subbed at the ag class also this week because I forgot and they shamed me into doing it. Anyways,
wait, you forgot, so they shamed you? How'd that work?
Well, they did a little tricky thing with my Outlook calendar, and I didn't technically reject it, but I didn't say yes. So they just said he must be going to do it. So then they called me, and I was in Adele, and they're like, "Are you coming in?" I'm like, "I'm in Adele." They're like, "Oh, that's all right. We'll cover you for 2 periods. Just get in here." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh God. That way, guess what? I gotta go to Paisley.
And tomorrow we might really test the how desperately they need subs, because we haven't been able to find a babysitter for Richard yet. So he may be going to high school with me tomorrow.
It makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
My wife, I just said I'll just take him. I'm doing the sort of the alternative learning room. So like some of them taking college classes, some are catching up on other classes. So sort of this it's not common structure anyway. So I don't think a 3-year-old is going to make that big a difference. But my wife thinks it might be disruptive.
Well, hey, there was kids in class when I was in college. Not very long, but there was occasionally. Yeah. So it's a good learning.
Everybody, it's a small town. Everybody get over it.
You gotta learn how to focus. Yeah. That's real quick, if you don't mind, could you sort of differentiate a charter school versus a public and kind of how that structures, or do you feel comfortable going into that?
Well, I can just say from my experience, there's really not much difference other than I think that it gives the teachers more room for creativity. So I think when you're in a public school, you're locked into a particular type of curriculum. And it's interesting. How many, you don't remember? I'll phrase it this way without getting anybody in trouble. When you and I were in school, did you remember doing many worksheets?
Worksheets. Like sixth grade in that region. Yeah. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So they've moved a lot of them to Google Classroom, which I think is probably better, but there are a lot of worksheets in schools anymore, like every day.
Oh.
So, and like you and I would read books and write reports and that kind of stuff, and they still do that to a certain extent. But I think we wrote a lot more. We did math out of the book more on the traditional like tab binder paper things.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially high school on, but like I remember a lot of math worksheets in the sixth grade, in particular. I don't know why. Well, I remember that because I had actually moved back we lived in Central Point for a while. And when I moved back to L Town, I think Miss Dukes. Yeah, Miss Dukes. She had the Uncle Ben's box of rice she would hook at you. She handed out a math worksheet, and I had already done the same exact math worksheet in my school in Central Point. And so I just wrote down the answers because somehow I remembered them. And she got really pissed because I didn't show my work, that I got it right. And I was like, but I've already done this one. And she's like, that's not how this works. I'm like, well, that's how it works in my mind. So
I think a lot about education, and the more I think about it, the more I think that I probably won't have my son go to he might go to public school a little bit, maybe an Adele and Plush, maybe just to get the social experience, but I'm really not relying on the education system to educate my child. So,
yeah, when I was younger, I always said there's no way I'd ever send kids to private school because I didn't think they'd be well adjusted and all that stuff. And then as we've marched onward, I won't say any direction in particular, I'm like, I don't see how you could do it, especially you realize now, I think later on, just how important really being a solid, like old school, I guess I would say education is. Like if I can do arithmetic and I can write well and I can speak in public and etc. I think that's just so advantageous now, especially coupled with the skills I think that you learn from, let's just say, like the social media or computer-based side as well. I think there's that hybrid. I think it's like just a tremendous experience now that you need, and not just one. So yeah, I probably agree.
I really, I would really like to live in Paisley. It'd be a lot of driving for me with where the rant's situated and with the office, but I really went away from there thinking, yeah, with Richardson High School, this might be where he goes to high school. And so, yeah, I can see us renting or getting a house in Paisley and living there for 4 years that he's there. So he can have that learning experience. And I'm not dissing the Lakeview school. I don't buy in, and I might be an old fuddy duddy, but I really believe in the Socratic method. And
absolutely,
I think school should be about teaching people how to think and not just. I just think it's amazing. I see 7 and 8 year olds just like stressed out about like it's just. My mom always says you shouldn't even worry about educating a boy until they're 12 because they're basically savages.
Yes,
I really buy into that. And there's studies that I'm sure that there are people out there that are going to correct me on this and tell me this is annotated study and it's not correct. But there's studies that say like girls, they should be in school and they should be studying because they are more mature than boys earlier.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
can focus and they work together better.
Very much so.
Everywhere. And like you let them hit 12 and then you start educating them and they like catch right up. So
instead of just battle and fight and like absolutely, it was just absolute chaos for me all those years basically. Like it wouldn't be my work, I just distracted. It was just a mess, absolute mess. Like I'm sure my parents thought I was just completely brain dead or lazy or both. But
And I was a nightmare too. So
yeah, we had kind of an experimental school too, and I was in Pine Creek at that time. It was a 2-room schoolhouse. So I had kindergarten through 4th, I think, in one, and or 3rd K through 3, and then 4th through 8th in the other classroom. And we could kind of do independent study, work at our own pace kind of deal. And so I did sometimes, and other times I would just go play on the computer. Or there was a stack of Mad magazines in the back as tall as I was. So that was, yeah, instead of doing math, I'm going to go read Mad magazine. So yeah, there were several of those coming to Jesus moments when my parents and me and would talking to the teacher. I'm, weeks behind on my stuff because I just didn't care. I didn't think about it. I'd rather be doing anything but that. So I guess it was good training for later on, but at the time, that was rough.
yeah, it's interesting. This has been this. I think rural America is going through this big transition right now, and I don't think they know where everybody's going yet. So I think it's really tough.
Well, we don't ever.
I think we just way overcomplicated shit, personally.
Usually
I mean,
so, man. Yeah, that seems to be one of like we overstress and overcomplicate most of the time. So
yeah, I can do math. I can read. So I'm pretty happy about that.
it's all about the little things.
Yeah. Those 2 skills have got me a long ways in life, but I was taught how to do those 2 things very well.
Yes. Yeah, I think we were lucky to have good teachers too. And nothing against current teachers, but like they didn't put up with our shit a lot of times, especially as we got older.
Well, I think the emphasis on writing, like writing to do a public speak or writing to convey a message, has been completely discounted. And I think that's such an important skill once you get out into the world and you're trying to navigate it, to be able to organize your thoughts and for lack of a better word, make them marketable or persuasive is crucial.
Oh goodness, I wish I kept it. At the time, I was just laughing and irritated. But I actually received a resume one time for a job, and it was literally written in like text talk, like an R and a U and a 4.
Oh man!
And I was just like, boom, I should have kept it, but I was just like, I was busy and looking for people, and I just tossed it away. But I was like, wow, what a shame that's what that person thought they should send in for a resume and a cover letter. It was just, and it was like email. It wasn't like they texted it to me. That would be one thing, I suppose. But it was just actually sent that way. And so, I see it every day with being able to get your thought out concisely. I'm always, my first draft of anything is extremely verbose, and I've been whipped and beaten on that many a time. And so that's why, my rules of order are always like simple as best, because then I'll go through and I'll hack out about half of the crap I said. And it's smarter then, I think. So but telling that story, I think is essential, especially now when we don't get to see people. Sometimes, I've done a complete cycle of business with somebody and never actually seen them or spoken to them. It's just emails and texting, and probably you've seen the same thing. So being able to convey that is extremely important, I think.
Yeah, I sold a property. Nobody ever went and looked at the property. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, it's a good thing that you knew about this property." I'm like, "I never even went there."
Turns out.
Yeah. I've been in the vicinity. I understand it.
Yeah, I know the area, but I never
There's
stood there.
So many ways that you can sell sagebrush.
There is that. Yes, that's already means you tried in Tata. Yeah, it's not some Wyoming incest. It's not just so harumph.
But I have to tell you, then I'll let you give your best thing. So I spent the day with some. Mike and I both know that where this place is. I went to Campbell Lake and Dead Horse Lake today to show property up there.
Oh wow!
It is way up there. It's probably an hour out of Lakeview, 45 minutes out of Paisley, 45 minutes out of Bly. It is like isolated, and it's in the wilderness. And so these people saw this cabin that we have up there. They were super excited about it. And so I was like, it is way out there. They're like, oh, it can't be that far. I'm like, it is far.
Like, we already made it to Lakeview. Okay. I don't think
Yeah.
it's any more out there than that. You're like, oh, hang on.
Yeah. So, anyways, we leave Lakeview and drive, and we drive. And like, I finished all the pretty horses on the way up there, which is a 24-hour book. Anyways, so we get up there and we go into Campbell Lake. It's all the Forest Service has built this whole thing around it. Really nice, well done. And we drive and we're on washboard for three miles, which is terrible because they haven't got up there to do road maintenance yet. I mean, you can get in there, but it's not. So we go by a dead horse, and it's another mile up there. So then we get up to the property, and these people have been following me the whole time. So we're calling up to this cabin, and I'm like, crap. So I just reach over, turn my 4-wheel drive in, and crawl up this hill. And then we actually had to stop. I had to drive around to find the cabin because they got tired of driving and they didn't have 4-wheel drive. And then we actually had to walk into the cabin because nobody had been in to cut the logs.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, but people, there's still places out there that are that people can't even conceive of. Like, I think people think they know what wilderness is, or they know where the cabin is, and I think they think of it as like, between Reno and Sacramento, there's Donner.
Yeah,
and it's this beautiful lake, and there's all these cabins. And I think when people think, oh, that's this cute little cabin out there, this is out there. This is like I was thinking. I didn't want to say it because it's so bad, but there's this saying in Wind River, and a great movie about Wyoming.
I love that movie.
She's like, "Why don't you call backup?" And goes, "There's no backup here, honey. You're in the land of you're on your own." And I was thinking, people are not prepared for that. And like, natively, I hadn't been up there in 20 years, but I still drive. Like, I drive the roads so fast that I would find myself waiting for them to catch up for like 3 minutes. I just realized that I was gone. But you just natively can read the roads. You know what lines to take. You know where the shade is and how they break down. It's just something that comes from living here your entire life, and you can't convey that. There's no way that I can convey that to people, how difficult it is and like how remote it is. And then I was thinking the whole time these people were following me, and like I'd wait for them, and I was like,
do they turn around? That's what I'd be thinking.
it's so odd that I'm so comfortable with this. And this was your and I's life. It's like, for us to go out to Campbell Lake, it's not really an inconvenience, and it doesn't freak us out. I don't have the filter that tells me what's going to freak other people out. I'm like, just going up to Campbell Lake. You get those people out there, their eyes are this big around. They're like, where are we going? Where are you taking us?
I don't know you. I don't trust you. Is that a tarp in the back of your pickup? Like, is that lie? Like, just like, I'm really impressed they followed you all the way out there.
Well, yeah. Then when I was driving around, the way they were waiting their pickup, I was looking around the other cabins. Yeah. And like the things that I read into things, like, they're like, oh, that's cute. I'm like, that is absolutely not cute. I think that guy's either cooking meth or he's growing weed, and we should not go near there.
Yeah, there's danger.
Yeah, and when we were coming out, there's a lady stopped in her Nissan Altima and run out of gas, and everything about the situation was weird. And I've been around up there enough. I was like, this seems like a honeypot to me. And I normally help people out, but like everything about the whole situation was just set up weird. And I think that's just a great basin. You get that thing.
Your spidey senses. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I'll call and send somebody to help you, but you're not shaking me down. So
yeah. Isn't that weird? Like, some people you just roll right up and you would be out. And then other people are like, this isn't meshing for me.
Yeah.
I'll help you, but it's going to be in a different way than you might want.
Yeah, the lady was in the back seat with a blanket. The windows were completely tinted. And I was like, she had no teeth. So I was like, it seems like if I stop here, I'm going to get rolled.
Yeah, what's in that blanket? Like, really?
Yeah.
Who's in the brush?
Anyways, there was a whole bunch of trouble I didn't need. So,
Oh, there's a title for your book right there. A whole bunch of trouble I didn't need.
just so everybody knows I'm not an asshole, I have picked up 2 hitchhikers the last 2 weeks. So I'm not a, it just
Oh, you're
depends on
overly generous, but like you said, you're
Yeah.
smart enough to listen to your gut and like don't stop or keep going. So, which is the same thing when you say it out loud, but don't stop or keep going. Same. But yeah, absolutely. Well, remember that guy we picked up on the way back from our 9-month adventure coming back from the bull sale? Like,
how could we forget that?
You know,
Definitely
most
one of
guys.
the best hitchhikers I've ever picked up.
What's that?
Definitely one of the best hitchhikers
Oh,
we've ever picked up.
yeah, this guy was what, 70? Easily mid 70s. Got a huge suitcase and he's just huffing up the old on ramp. It was the best. We don't even have time on our long format to tell that whole story. That was quite the week. But so my point being is you are known for being generous, especially when it comes to travelers, as you are a professional traveler yourself. So if you don't like a situation, then I'm all for it.
All right.
Well, I can't wait to say these words, but what a lovely reach around, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah. We covered a lot of stuff in a amount of time.
That was beautiful. I've been busy here too, working around the house last week. Got the whole pile of fence stained. It looks damn sharp. Neighbors are impressed. I'm impressed. I'm happy. So that was cool. Finally had some good hot weather to get her done. And still getting used to being back in the office. So busted a move on that and volunteered for the social committee today. So yeah, somehow I get drawn to that. I thought back to harken to my days at the Department of Ag when I was on the social committee, and I got this wild idea. And we were in the natural resources division, and there was like 7 programs in there. You know, you had like the CAFO program and the 1010 water program, and you had the smoke program, and et cetera. And I got to looking around all cubes and cube land, and of course Jimmy Johnson was in there, Jimmy J. And I was like, what we need to do is every program, we're going to play miniature golf is what we're going to do here, kids. And every program is going to make a themed hole for their program. So we took all the cube land and laid out a 9-hole miniature golf course. And the social committee, we made the 2 extra holes to round it out. So I got everybody gathered in the front when you walk in a natural resources division. We're all standing around with putters and golf clubs and stuff. And of all people to walk in, Katie Kober, the director, she's like, what's going on here? And I'm like, team building. She was like, excuse me. I'm like, check it out. All the divisions made miniature golf holes that represents their division. She's like, this is absolutely beautiful. So she played some golf with us, but that was quite fun. One of my favorite stories from Department of Ag. But anyways, I'm on the social committee work, so we will see what that brings us. But it should be entertaining since I have actually met maybe 5 people that are actually in the lab wandering around. So there's us salespeople. Then the lab's like in the center, like all of our offices are on the outside, kind of around, and then the actual physical lab is on the internal part. So you'll see people coming and going every once in a while, but there's about 6 doors to get in and out of that lab. And they usually go the other way because it's closer to the service elevator, yada, yada. So anyways, I'm rambling, but it should be fun. So we'll see what gets done with that. And then I've actually been nerding out on technology at work as well, as far as I got some bright ideas to put on some webinars. So finding webinar platforms, which are just absolutely really cool. I just freak out on those things about how you host everything, you build everything up front, and how it does it does your invitations and your registrations and your follow-ups. It's just like clicking a button, and it's so cool to run a meeting like that now, as opposed to 48 spreadsheets and remembering all that stuff.
There's a really great one that did with the Sun Valley Institute, and the platform was called Run the World.
Oh, cool.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I'm looking at one right now called Demio, which is just for webinars. It's really fun. And then I'm ultra nerding out as well for a lot of my cold call stuff. And I've HubSpot I'm using for it's tied to my calendar, so people can click on that and schedule meetings from my email, or what if I send them the link. So you set up the days when you want sort of like random office times, and if people want meetings, they can click on it and schedule it. So this shows up like, oh, I've got a meeting on Wednesday at 3. Sounds fun. So anyways, nerding out at work, doing some of that kind of stuff just to make us a little bit smarter about what we do. And then we heading up to see my dad this weekend, I think, for a couple days. So it's been quite a while. It's only about a 12-hour drive, so we'll just skip up there, and I'll work remote next week. So it should be kind of fun.
Well, now that the Forerunner's
running like a just like smoother and ball bearings on glass, my good sir. Absolutely, yeah. It's just it's amazing what a new engine will do to a 200,000 mile vehicle. I mean,
whole new lease on life. What was the weirdest thing for you going back to work? What's the biggest adjustment?
Well, I still wear shorts to work, like regular shorts. I don't wear. Yeah, I think it's that I talk to myself a lot, and I'm very loud. And so, like when I'm like here in my home office, I'll be like, I talk a lot out loud, and I didn't realize how much I do that till I got to my office, and it's fairly quiet. And most of, not all the time, but a lot of times I'll have my door open because I'm like, that's why I'm here. And I'll be like, well, what the hell is this about? And I'll be like, that's just me. So I really realized that I talked to myself.
What type of fuckery is this?
Exactly. This is epic, just proportions of douchebaggery that it's uncommon in this world. And I'm like, that's me. So that's part of it, is that I was substituting interaction, I think, with my own sort of random out loud blurting. So I'm working on that. The other funny thing was when I first started going to the office, and not that I'm this major trendsetter, but like there'd be like 5 offices in a row, let's say. Everybody's in there and their door closed. And I'm like, you can't be in a freaking meeting all day long. So I would just purposely leave my door open. So it's like the flow, and so now more and more people are leaving their office door open unless they actually have a meeting. So I can swing by and, I got the bullshit. The guy that runs bioinformatics is a cool Brazilian guy today. So his door's up. I'm like, what's up, neighborino? And so, stole a cup of coffee and shot the shit for like 15 minutes. I'm like, this is what our office is about. So, and we had a blast, and I'd not talked to that guy that much, just casually. So, rarely do you just jump on a Zoom just to kind of bullshit, right, like when you're remote, like, hey, what are you doing right now? Let's just talk. You don't do that. But if you're walking by and somebody's kind of like just docking off, or you're like, hey, what's going on? Stop and shoot the breeze and do that. So that's the main thing about the office. And I've had chances to catch up with my boss, my CEO, like a lot. Like we bullshit a lot of times now. Just about, he's like, hey, I've been thinking about this, or have you ever heard of this? Like things that we would not set a meeting for or talk to each other about unless we see each other. So it's been cool to reinforce the power of in-person stuff. So I'm still adjusting to that for sure, because I'm still really, I'll lean back and just throw my feet up on the desk and like just relax, because I'm like thinking about something, and I'm like, this probably doesn't look as good for somebody walking by, but I don't really care. I only work for one person in this building, and he knows. So, but yeah, it was the talking out loud a lot that really kind of cracked me up, that I do that. Yeah. So, and I can't go outside and lay in the sun for 10 minutes or swim real quick either, since I can go outside, I suppose, but yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, being able to just go jump in and swim around for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, like deal. Seriously, like, oh, there's a 10-minute break. Like literally takes 15 seconds to get ready to go get in the pool. Splash around 10 to 15 minutes, get out and dry off, and you're back. Like it's nothing, but it's a little more. My office is on the 3rd floor of the building, and it's 5 minutes just to get downstairs, because I don't take the elevator because it's slow as crap. And so, yeah, it's just and I got excited because the boss is like, every other Thursday we have a sales meeting. And he's like, yeah, I think this week we'll probably have it in person. And I'm like, we're going to meet in the conference room. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to get the conference room scheduled. I'm like, I used to just loathe conference room meetings because I would just be inundated. And I'm like, you know how long it's been since I had a conference room staff meeting? I am all about that shit. So yeah, it's I used to, I would actually, when I worked at the first genomics place I worked at GeneSeek, like I would physically block off time on my calendar so nobody could schedule a freaking meeting, because that's all you could just meet. And I was like, no. And so I would actually just put like Micah time, and then have like 2-hour blocks I just scatter throughout the day so people couldn't freaking schedule a meeting, but because they would. Just like you, I didn't even accept it. And I'm like, hey, we're meeting at 2. I'm like, I didn't say yes, but you're here. Yeah, but I'm not there. Yeah, so we'll probably get there eventually here too, but yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Interesting to see how we how fast everybody rolls right back into the bureaucracy.
I don't know. I think a lot of us, at least for a while, I talked to my boss quite a bit about this too. We're thinking about sort of like still going to maintain a pretty strong hybrid approach to like remote work and office time. The main thing is like our goal over the next few months is like to get enough office time where people start to develop that solid team sort of thing, but still have the remote opportunity to like, hey, it's like, hey, I want to go, I was planning on going and hanging out with my dad's in a couple of weeks, and you mind if I work remote? He's like, well, not at all, no, have fun. I'm like, cool. But the daily sort of grind. And he said, yeah, you're so right about how long it's going to be before. I'm like, wait a minute, too many damn meetings. So
I remember when I was working in Cleveland in an office. Luckily, it was only about 6 months, but it was a real eye-opening experience. My counterpart was in the office next to me, would send me a 1-sentence email with a question, and I would get up as soon as I received it. I'd get up and walk over, open her door, and say, "Yes." She goes, "You gotta have a paper trail." I'm like,
that's
no.
Exactly what I was thinking, that she was needing a paper trail for something.
Yeah.
So then she would write back, and your response to my email of yes, I would ask again.
So no, but yeah, that was a different world. I've never quite been in that same situation ever again, but I think that might have cured me on office jobs.
Yeah, it is its own little ecosystem. There's no way around it, and it's a different mindset. And yeah, it's like once you get a sense of being feral again, there's really no desire to full office mode. It just gets crazy.
I have this interesting phenomenon because probably since when I was running the emergency response company, I used to run it with binders. Like I had everything I needed in binders, and if I got on a plane, I'd put the binders, and I'd have my cell phone, and cell phone didn't have much memory when I first started. So I'd have binders full of phone numbers, and every location would have all the phone numbers everybody needed. So I just sit with my binder and talk on the phone, and I could do it. People could drive, and I could sit in the passenger seat, and I could coordinate a lot of stuff. And I'd always have my laptop, but they weren't very powerful then.
Yeah.
What's really odd to me is I just take it for granted. By the time I was in Midland, Texas, I could run our entire tool rental division from my phone. Like,
yeah,
in the yard from my phone. I could check tools in and out. I could get everything signed. Everybody I needed to talk to was there. I could see emails. I could lean against my tools and send an email. I had an office. I maybe spent 45 minutes a day in it. Like, it's not, when you get to set up a division like that, you never think about it. I didn't have to ever be at the yard at certain times, so I could be having lunch, or I could be across town, and I could handle everything just with my phone. So pretty much that's how I set up everything I do. But then I'm getting into this real estate company, and I love all the ladies I work with, but they cannot conceptualize of the amount of stuff that you could do on the phone.
Mhm.
So one of the ladies, and I love her to death. I'm not trying to say this as disparagingly, but she has a hard time realizing that if I'm not physically in the office, that I can still perform office type
You're
stuff.
still doing office things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, just forward me anything. And she goes, well, aren't you gonna be out the ranch? I'm like, yeah, but I like literally my dad stopped me. I went to pick up our big Peterbilt in Klamath Falls. He stopped me on the side of the road because I forgot my bag because he knows that everything I need.
Your life is in that bag.
Yeah. So, and he's the same age, but he knows he's seen me long enough that he knows that there's very few things that I can't do without my laptop and my phone.
Sure.
And like he borrows my hotspot all the time. And my mom's like, why do you pay for that hotspot? Because I said the one time you don't have it, it makes all the difference in the world. And
Yes.
they're like, why don't you use your phone hotspot? I'm like, it's not the same. When you really need internet, you really need internet.
Yeah. Yes.
And sometimes the phone one just don't kick it out.
Yeah, it's just a little underpowered. So yeah, that, as they say, better to have it not needed.
But I take it for granted. I don't know what percentage of the world is anchored to their office. And I have to say, I'm really spoiled in that sense. But
I think fewer are now. If there was one positive out of the Rona chaos, was that people figured out a way and innovated or explored or found things that helped them to not be in the office yet still do their job. And I think that's going to be with us for a long time. I think that's a Pandora's box you can't really close back. I think it'll be hybridized and improved. And I think it's cool that people are going to look at it like you do and be like, I just need to figure out a way to make this work for me instead of vice versa. And I think that.
Well, that makes me wonder. I'm thinking Bo's probably a lot like me with B&K. I bet his office is his truck.
I think so.
I bet everything he does is mostly on his phone. I bet he's got different locations, but I bet he's hardly at a desk for more than 45 minutes during the day, if he's even that much.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I think, and even when I was sales manager out there for CHS, I was usually just going somewhere else from where I was at. And like the only time I was really in my office was like when I was building a newsletter or something like pretty intent, like on a laptop. But other than that, it was just going somewhere else to see other people. There was my office was my car, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you needed. So I think that's having that mobile command presence, I think but having those landing points, I think is important also. Like you go back to the office every once in a while, you're going to see people, you're still building that connection, I think, with the people in your respective spaces. So I think that's a critical component to that. Is I'm not every day or all the time, but when I am there, I know who's there and we're looking forward to chatting for a few minutes at least, or there's that, it's the cycle. So I know I caught hell one time when I hadn't been into the office at the feed mill in Hermiston for like, I don't know, maybe 2 months. And I rolled in the door one day and they're like being smart asses, like, well, hi, I'm so-and-so and I work here and I do this. And they're like giving me grief. And I'm like, as far as I know, none of you some bitches buy a feed. So don't take it personal, but this is not where I make my money. So my mailbox is all full and over, honestly. I don't care. I'm like, fine, I'll come say hi more often than I do. But I was like, I'm standing around in here is not making anybody any money. So I'll see y'all later. But it was like point taken. I should say hi more often. I got you. So it's funny.
Hang on. My wife, it's like I have a new girlfriend. My wife got her hair straightened. It's like I have a whole new
straightened. I straightened my hair.
She straightened her hair.
Oh, she did it.
I have a whole new woman living in my life.
And that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Everybody's happy. It's
what happens when you have time and rest.
Yeah, two things you never see enough of: time and rest.
Who are those guys?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, we got derailed again.
I know that's our job. That's what we do. The derailment hour. Should we talk a little about Entertainment Spotlight? I guys, I listened to a bit of this. So The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell just came out. It was a book you picked, and also some podcasts, but the book. What do you think? Why'd you pick this one? I always like to know that. Why'd you pick it?
Well, Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite authors. So
It's 100% for me too.
Yeah. Man, I have authors dropping stuff right and left. Sebastian Younger just wrote a book called Pulse.
Oh, I heard of that. I've not read it yet, but
Niles Ferguson just wrote a book called Doom. I have to get to. But I always drop everything and get the Malcolm Gladwell book. And this one was really good because it's from his new company called Pushkin Industries,
yeah,
which is also now Michael Lewis's publishing company.
That's right.
This hybrid between audiobook and radio.
Yeah, pretty squirrely.
Yeah, but you can still get the traditional book if you want. But with what their approach is they do all the research, and then if they have like video footage or audio footage or stuff, they just include that right into the audiobook. So it's like you get it firsthand. So that is one of the fascinating. And so Bomber Mafia is the first real big project book, audiobook from Pushkin. And you'll be able to get it on text and on through Amazon and all that kind of stuff, and hardback and that kind of stuff. I think that it's just this, I really feel that it sort of evolved out of podcast when they haven't solved the newspaper media problem as far as keeping it relevant. But I really think that this sort of book podcast hybrid has a lot of traction, and I think it's good. I think you're going to see more, and I'm so happy that Lewis and Malcolm Gladwell are like in the leading edge of this because they're two of my favorite authors. And I'd say I love everything that Gladwell does. Sometimes Lewis puts out a book that sort of pisses me off, but overall he's an amazing author. If anything, he leans a little. He puts too much faith in government, and that sometimes rubs me the wrong way. But the Blind Side, Big Short, Moneyball, Moneyball is probably in my top 5 books.
I need to read that. I've not read that yet. I should.
Oh, yeah. Then there's another one called Boomerang Boys, which is really good about high frequency trading. I mean, as soon as it was written, it was almost irrelevant because that sector moves so fast.
Yeah.
But it gives you a really good picture of how fast it is actually moving. And it really, it'll really degrade your faith in the financial industry.
The more you look in the financial industry, the quicker your faith quickly goes downhill. It's definitely, as I would say, I think it's paper tiger, but it's going to survive no matter what. But yeah, you start poking holes and you're like, good God, how's this thing running?
Well, like finance is very simple. If you get it defined, this is what I learned, and it took me a long time to learn it. Finance is everything money. So you get into banking, real estate, or insurance. And as long as you don't even have to be really good at it. You just have to be semi-decent at it, and you're going to do good. And it's a dark art. My dad says, like economics, finance, it's a dark art.
100%.
And it's a lot about, but it's you need all 3 of those things to do anything. So
well said.
Yep.
Well said. Yeah, I listened to the podcast on the revisionist history. He has about a 35-minute deal or so on the Bomber Mafia, and I got it from Audible too. And I got it comes with that special side download or something as well. So that's pretty cool. So that's definitely on my playlist when I drive north. For sure, because I'm pretty stoked just about what I listened to like the first chapter of the book, and then I listened to the podcast tonight, and I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. As most of the time.
I'll give you a rundown on it. So it was about 6 or 7 years ago, Malcolm Gladwell did a TED talk, and he did it about the Norton bomb site.
Oh, we did a TED talk on it. Okay, I need to check that out
Yeah.
too.
So, anyways, he's always had this fascination with Norton and the people that came up with the bombers. I don't I forget in the book how if it was his father's interest or it was his interest, but he has this weird little thing where that's one of the pieces of history he likes. And basically, he goes from what Norton allowed us to do is start to think about doing precision bombing, but it didn't really get us all the way there. And the whole story is about how all through World War II, there's all these people that believe that we could do precision bombing and we didn't have to, like, we could reduce the casualties, civilian casualties considerably. The technology just didn't advance that fast. So there's this yin and yang of like realities of war, what the conception of war is. It all is in this thing, and it has a lot of to do with Japan and that last part, that last theater in the Pacific Theater, and trying to end the war and what they had to do with based what the technology they had the capacity to do, but what was actually attainable. It's just this great story, but in the long sight, the technology got better. We can now bomb what they thought in their heads before World War II that they could do.
Yeah.
And it just it's a real study in the different types of personalities that it takes to accomplish big things. And like if you look beyond war and everything, there are people that the people are going to get it done. There are people who are thinking about how it could be done better, and there's always that mashup between the two, and types of personalities to make it happen.
Yeah, like we were talking about at the beginning, you got to have people charging ahead, and you have to have people saying back like, "Hey, what the hell?"
Yeah,
there's that yin and the yang. I think exactly like you said.
It's an uncharacteristic Malcolm Gladwell book, but really, really good.
I'm stoked. I can't wait to listen to it all because I've heard about that to some degree, never dug into it very deep, obviously, but I know how much of a shift it was and just the advancement it took, even though it wasn't as far as we wanted to go or thought we went, you still have to do that before you can get to the next stage. And I think that's that particular component of it is pretty interesting for me. And just they weighed like 60 pounds and you checked it out with your life. And, it was just a different way of thinking than now for sure.
I think one of the coolest stories is the guy that they had that at one time they were bombing some, they were trying to bomb some, a lot of the stories about picking the right targets to bomb, how difficult it was to actually bomb them, especially in the German theater, in the European theater. But a lot of it was to get the Norton site over the site so that the bombardier could do it, and with the fewest casualties possible. But in the meantime, you're getting bombarded in these fortresses by all sorts of ammunition, and people are there's planes trying to stop you, and you're getting shot at from the ground, and you have to be a certain level, but you had a great amount of risk. Anyways, the guy that was the commander, and this is what I really liked about him, is he said those bombers can take like 300 direct hits before they're even start to go down. And like the pilot's like, I'm not going to sit on a bomb range shot 300 times. He goes, fine, I'll do it. And he did it the very first time, and he just stayed on, that Skywalker, stay on target, stay on. And he just blew the plane in, lined the bomber up, and they had a tremendous amount of success. But he had to physically go and do it. And he did this on several different occasions. And that's why he's not the villain in the book. There's no villains. He's just the different thinker. Like brute force. He just did the math. He knew that the plane could take it, and he was the one that took the first risk. The other risk that he took was flying it when they got to the Pacific Theater, the range. So they would fly from the Pacific Islands and then land. Where would they land? Anyways, I think Turkey. So instead of turning back, then they'd land in Turkey and then they'd do the whole cycle over.
Oh, okay.
Like by the time they dropped the bombs, and then they would barely make it to Turkey, but they sure as hell couldn't make it back to the island they took off of.
Yeah.
Anyways, just fast.
I'm gonna have to watch Memphis Belle again after I listen to this Gladwell book, because that was one of the great parts about that is the couldn't see the targets, they had to wait, and they're trying to drop the bombs early. No, I'm not gonna do it. So that was how long it's been since you've seen that movie, but it's one of my favorites. It's badass.
I just remember the prostitute scene. Oh, that was Mississippi Blues.
You're thinking about, yeah. Like Biloxi Blues is what you're thinking of there, I think. Matthew Broderick. Are you a cracker? Yeah, my whole family's quackers. Yeah. That is Biloxi Blues is a great movie too. Wasn't freaking what's his name, was this drill sergeant, right? Christopher Walken.
Oh, right? That'd be perfect. Yeah, he'd be a perfect drill
sergeant.
Christopher
Walken was the drill sergeant, I think, in Memphis in Biloxi Blues. Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it was originally Broadway play.
Yeah, Neil Simon, I think, did that, if I'm not mistaken. But great movie. Matthew Broderick and the gang, they did a good job. So
yeah, so he's sort of known for turning Broadway plays into movies, because he does
producers as well, I think. Yeah. Is it him and Nathan Lane? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And Will Ferrell? Was that the one Will Ferrell was in, or that was a different one? No. Yeah, Will Ferrell was in that one. He sang "Springtime for Hitler." That's right.
Oh yeah.
Man, how my brain, quote unquote, works the way it does, where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I honestly don't even know what I had for dinner last night. So that's spooky. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm really excited to listen to this book. For sure, because I pretty much everything Gladwell has done I've read or listened to, and then his particular favorite part of time for me is World War II, just because of the things that we did or said we did, and then to know this particular story, and then even one of the quotes from, they had the guy on the podcast who like worked with Norton, and he said that only God invents, man just discovers.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool quote, for sure, because it's sort of inspirational to me. Like, well, just think of all the other shit out there we still have to go find. That's how I looked at it. Like, there's an infinite number of things out there we have not figured out yet.
Yeah, that guy was he would supervise those sites down to the ball bearings. Like, his zealotry was sort of reminds me of the Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God.
But no, that
how far reaches do you compare the guy who invented the bomb site to fucking Blues Brothers? Yeah.
But it just shows the type of characters, like, they don't even talk about it, but like, you needed Robin Oppenheimer, and you needed Norton, and you needed them not to be encumbered by bureaucracy in order for us to win World War II. And you needed Patton, and you needed MacArthur. You needed those oddball. And at some point in the war, we stepped aside from the bureaucracy, and they said, we're going to have to let these individuals that are bubble off march forward and make this happen. Like the guy that wrote over Oppenheimer, General Groves.
Yeah.
He was a square peg in a round hole, but by God, he got everything done. The reason why our little hometown sitting on a uranium dump is because of Groves needed to get uranium down to Los Alamos so they could make nuclear weapons. Yeah. And he scoured the earth.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things that when I talk about being fond of World War II, it's because of those types of things of, just because we've never done something before was almost all you needed to hear to say, yeah, we can. And just the way it would find these oddballs or these people that didn't really care about the constrictions of the nose or whatever, and then just figure out a way to make it happen. Not always the best, but still, like, when you get out of your own way what can get accomplished. I think that's always the inspiration I took from some of that stuff.
Yeah. Give Robert McNamara $2 billion and don't tell him what to do.
Yes, precisely. I'll be back when it's done. Good day.
Yeah.
Basically, just there
Go
ain't no
for
check.
it.
Yes, just go forth.
No other war would Churchill have ever been the prime minister.
Mhm.
I mean, that Robert Altman movie with Churchill is brilliant.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That guy had no place in any other time and place.
But then he was exactly what was needed for then. I think, just think if he wouldn't have been. How many times, like all the things where it was just millimeters from crumbling, and it didn't. It just gives me chills when you think about it. That's Dunkirk is one of my new favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
It's so odd. Like there's like 7 lines in the whole entire movie, but when you see like all that was going on, and it's just I'm going to get into some cinematography of how it was filmed and all that crap, but yeah, it was just amazing to think about all those things that came together and like no, we're going to get this done no matter what spirit. I think that's always gives me goosebumps because I just kind of thrive on that inspiration, I suppose. Anyways, so yeah, guys, check out the Malcolm Gladwell. If you've not read any of his other stuff, please go check it out. I think it's just such a way to look at things, and I just appreciate his approach. And if it doesn't make you think, then I probably don't know what would. So I'm not saying you're going to agree with everything. It's just going to be highly entertaining for one, but mostly stimulating for the other. So I think it's pretty necessary stuff. So what a great segment into our intellectual moment of the week. Brought to you again by our good friends at Pendleton Mixer and Cigar, Southeast Immigrant. And it's so odd how this quote just ends up being appropriate. But so the quote is from Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it says, "The man of action has the present, but the thinker controls the future." That was the random quote that I stole. Oh, wow. And threw in here, and then we ended up talking about all this other stuff, and then bam, the man of action has the present, but the thinker controls the future.
That very much sums up Bomber Mafia.
Yes. None of how fortuitous. Isn't that crazy?
You don't have to read the book now. That basically sums
there
up.
You go. Yeah, skip ahead. If you're going on a long drive and you run out of Far Reachers podcast, then you can certainly listen to that. But yeah, that just cracks me up how I randomly choose where those come from and where they're about. I just kind of find one. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. And then it's amazing how that just kind of stitched right in. So that's pretty cool. But I need to mention again, too, that this whole podcast is indeed, again, brought to you by our good friends at B&K Auto Salvage, 2 locations in the beautiful Grand Ronde Valley, one just south of the Grand and one in beautiful Baker City. So still using promo code Reacher. So call ahead if they have parts you're looking for. Give them a call. Call Bo, call the store. They'll look around and they got a lot of stuff inventory. They can help you find it. Or, as we're fond of saying, if you like to go pull your own, they're all for that too. Wander out into that scenic, vast scrapyard and find what you're looking for. Also, if you're having some scrap picked up, they will give a little boost on that price per pound rate if you say promo code Reacher. So don't forget that. Tell them your good friends at the Far Reaches podcast sent you there. We can't thank B&K Auto enough for being our partner in this crazy adventure and always being there for us. So we thank them for that, and also definitely our good friends at Pendleton Mixer and Cigar. But that brings us to our Far Reaches word of the week. And since, as tradition stands, Richard had done the entertainment spotlight, and so he has the option of having this word of the week as well.
Man, I had a good one. Sorry, it was really funny to watch Micah when I came back. The 3-year-old was being super quiet, so I thought, why Micah's doing the ads, I'll go and check on the 3-year-old. Anyways, it took me a while to find him. He was where he's supposed to be, but I thought he wasn't. So I can tell when I get back that Micah's been stretching them out longer than you thought.
I think I did all right. Well, wheels weren't off yet, but I was circling back around like, man, so in one more. Yes. So.
Oh man, I had a really good one. I did have. Darn it.
What a word.
Yeah, I'm failing.
Well, it doesn't have to be anything like, omnipotent or nothing, but
Ooh, let's do Omnipotent.
I got a great story about that word too. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I know what it means,
yes.
but I got to hear the story now. I
Okay.
think yeah.
Well, let me write it down before I forget it. So this one stems back to my grad school days, and as I said earlier, I would often be extremely verbose in my first and second and sometimes third drafts. And so at one point I was rambling terribly in my thesis, and this specific sentence was therefore the omnipotent question must be, and then I rambled on into something, and I, granted, my study was about grazing distribution and influence of age and regime on cattle distribution. So not really sure where, I was going with that, but I remember that specifically because when I walked into my poor professor's office, Tim had the little reading glasses on, and he's sitting there and he's like, he's reading, pulls his glasses down. He's like, hey, Weasel, what the hell is omnipotent? And I'm like, look, Catholic boy, omnipotent, supreme, all-knowing, like the ultimate, like God, omnipotent. He's like, what the shit you putting that in the thesis for?
That sounds like one of those, I'm writing, it's 2:00 in the morning and I can't think of any other words.
I'm trying to wrap this shit up. That sounds good to me at the time. You're probably dead on right. Yeah, it's probably 2:00 in the morning. Hacking away on it, but therefore the omnipotent question must be, so, and then omnipotent of all things. So, so I was like, look, Catholic boy. So that's why it always makes me laugh when I think of omnipotent. But
well, as a Catholic, you should know what omnipotent is.
That's exactly why I laughed even harder, because I think it seemed it was so out of context for him to be reading it, in a mostly science-based paper, supposedly. You get your graphs and your citations and and then omnipotent, and not even like, in a meaningful manner. It was just rambling and some, standing back. Like I always pictured like the old orators, like stand with their hands on their collars and Mr. Speaker, that's kind of how that was in my mind, I think, when I was writing that. And so to read it in a master's thesis, he was like, what the shit is this all about? So
yeah. And not theology based.
No, exactly. No, I didn't go to Notre Dame. It was yeah. So I had to giggle at that one. So yeah, great word, Richard. Dynamite drop in for sure.
Yeah.
I gotta write that. I gotta write this one actually in 2 places. I have the notes I take from our script, and then I have the yellow pads. Anyways, nobody cares about that. So yeah.
So the great and omnipotent Skippy is a character in a book that every book is like, it's sci-fi, so I'm really gonna dork out on this, but it's called Expeditionary Force. So I listened to the first one. It's about the Earth gets attacked, and then we go in to help the alien species that help defend it. It turns out that it was all a big trick, and so a bunch of Earthlings get shipped into space, and then they have to escape. And in the process of escaping, they find an AI that looks like a beer can. He helps them I think I'm on book 7 now. They're each about 30 hours long.
Oh,
And
geez.
yeah, it is this amazing tale. But the beer can's name is this AI beer can is named Skippy, and he calls himself the Omnipotent. And like
It's like Skippy the Omnipotent. Is that what he
Yeah.
says?
But one of the best things about it is, so he's always calling us monkeys and smelly monkeys and that kind of stuff. But anyways, at one point they're back on Earth, they're fighting off the aliens, and the guy hijacks a Barney truck. So one of the things that they always say is break it down for me Barney style.
Barney style.
I love that. I used to hang out with this guy named Claire Pickard from
Oh, yeah.
and we'd be talking about something, and it'd get a little highfalutin, and Claire would lean back his chair and take his hat off and scratch his head, and he goes, "Can you just put that in cowboy words?"
That's awesome.
Anyways, sometimes I listen to somebody and I'm like, they just would you break that down Barney style? Yeah, it would be awesome.
They might. You should just throw it out there and see what they say.
Yeah, but could you just break that out cowboy for me?
Which can be handy.
Or oil field. Can you just
oil field
check that for me? Because yeah.
I think, sometimes I'll ramble about my quote unquote rules of order, simple is best, never assume, and start at the beginning. But there's a reason, because I've got my dick stomped when I've gotten too complex or jumped in halfway, or, rule number one, just keep it simple. So if you can't explain something in a simple manner, it's probably too convoluted and going to fail anyways. So you should be able to spit it out, cowboy, or whatever you want to say for that at any time.
You should also run away from people that take simple ideas and make them super complicated.
Yes, 100%. Especially,
it took me 40 some years of my life to figure that out. If I think something is relatively simple and somebody complicates it, I'm pretty sure that's a relationship that's not going very far.
Yeah, like, what are you duct taping shit onto this for? It's not needed. Yes.
Since there's no chance that this person, I won't even say their name, but since there's no chance that this person ever listens to this podcast, I'm going to tell you a great story about this.
Oh, outstanding.
So, I'm trying to sell this property. It's pretty straightforward. Property for sale. So anyways, I'm having a conversation with the owner. He goes, "Oh, go talk to this lady." So I'm sitting there. I've been in the oil field for way too long. She starts listing off all these bureaucratic people that can help me. So, and what their titles are and how special they are. And I should really phrase this like, how should I phrase this?
Delicately.
I have been in the oil field for a long time.
Yeah, there you go.
So all I'm hearing is this person's going to be in the way. This person's not going to contribute anything and take a lot of credit.
Going to be a drag. Yeah.
This is just going to be a barrier. So I listened to all this and I'm like, okay. I said, so this is what my vision for this property is. And she's like, well, you need to put that all down and write it and present it. And I'm like, to who? And she's like, these people that are working on this. I'm like, no. I said, can you give me a guarantee that it'll even see the light of day and we can talk about it? Well, nobody can do that. I'm like, well, then I'm not doing a presentation for you because I'll just sell it. She's like, what? I said, if I'm going to do all that work, I'll just do it my damn self.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, she was very red when I left.
There you go, tearing up the system. Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, that's awesome. That's too funny.
That's my that was the time when I had when it finally clicked that something very simple had been way overcomplicated and I did not need to be part of it.
I love it because it didn't need to be. And I think 100%. You knew it well. It didn't have to be. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. And that's for just people like I think we're just shifting into what's grinding our gears based on that, because we tend to overcomplicate things, especially when it comes to the government, that it doesn't make any sense at a point. You're like, you're just existing to be there for something else, not what you said to start out with. Yeah.
Like one of the things that oil field really interests, it really filters that out. And that's why when people say like when they bash the oil industry, I can completely understand, but at the same time, people need to step back and realize how efficiently we are extracting oil from the but there's a reason why. It's a system of thinking. It has nothing to do with the extracting the oil. If you applied that system of thinking to most any other thing,
Absolutely right.
and that's why I always tell, if you would pay attention what the oil industry is doing with your renewable energy and that kind of stuff, a lot of it's grassroots, a lot of innovation comes up and not down.
Sure.
And the other thing they do is they pay people really well. So they have really smart people working for them. And I guarantee you, if you paid that same person a lot of money to work on wind farms and not $14 an hour, they probably really put their best effort into it. But anyways.
I think that's a great lesson, though, is like, if you see somebody doing something really well, even though you may not agree with it, or they're kicking your ass, even more importantly, when they're kicking your ass with it, be smart enough to stop and look and learn at what they're doing. Like, admire and admit when they're doing something right. And like, look, we can learn from what's going on right here, kids. It's a template right in front of us.
Yep. And I went through the whole safety culture when I first got into the oil field. Like, they had been working on safety, but it really hadn't taken hold. And I went through the entire evolution over 10 years, and they kept simplifying it, and it really came down to, as the thing that stuck the most with everybody, was 5 seconds, 5 steps back.
Oh yeah.
That's how much. It's like that Deadpool. It only takes 30 seconds.
Oh yeah.
No, just taking 5 seconds and beating that into everybody's head decreased the amount of energies in the oil field by 80%. It was insane. And 5 steps back, 5 seconds.
And I'm sure when it started out, it was folders upon binders upon trainings upon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there was still undertone for sure, but like you said, it boiled down to this: like, take a second and think about it, take a step back, and just get in the moment of what's going on, and take a quick break. Yeah, I think.
And the other thing that they did is, anybody can stop a job. If it seems unsafe, you never get in trouble for stopping the job.
Oh, interesting. Because even though you're probably not going to quote unquote get in trouble, you're probably going to be fairly certain that you're not feeling safe to do that. But still, in that way, that also ensures that everybody knows what's going on, or should be going on at that point. Also, I think that's a brilliant thought.
And you see it in the I don't know how many people have watched Deepwater Horizon.
Oh yeah.
The most realistic scene, and people, that driller and the company man, when the guys, the rig supervisor's getting his award and they're fighting over what they're going to do with the rig. That is how drillers talk to the company men if they are comfortable with things. And the fact that he backed up. Had he held his ground, none of that would have happened. But they tried to call the rig supervisor, who would have told that guy to go shove it. But the fact that just that 5 second decision and giving into that guy is what caused that whole thing. And I guarantee if they would have got a hold of the drilling supervisor, he would have been on the floor and would have stopped that entire thing.
Just doing what's supposed to happen. Yeah.
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 Anyways, once again, we're in the ditch, so I apologize.
Dude, we're driving. We always have to do. I'm just thinking back physically about how many times we've actually been in the ditch. And it's beautiful. And here we are still. Yes. I completely agree, though. And that just stems to the whole theme, though, really, of, don't overcomplicate it. Make sure everybody understands what's going on. I really like the 5 seconds and 5 steps. I think that's super smart. Obviously, it's working. Yeah, it shouldn't be that complicated, really. I think clear back to our education discussion, like just try to make shit too complicated and just because. And part of it's because, well, we always done it this way. And that's the one, no, whenever I hear that, I'm just always like, oh, kids, here we go. Yeah, because my response is always like, well, we always had a 2-hole shitter outhouse too, but I'm pretty happy when we finally got indoor plumbing. That was a change that actually wasn't that bad.
Oh, not having to sit next to somebody is good.
Well, the 2-hole, well, yeah, I always thought that was odd too. Like 2-hole, you guys must have been rich. And I'm like, I don't know where you get that. I'm not sure who invented the 2-holer. Really, like seriously.
That just says bad time management to me.
It does indeed. Like I don't know. I might take the extra 10 or 12 boards, and if you really need 2 of them that bad, just build 2 separate ones. But I don't know. But we actually had a 2-holer. Yeah, I don't know. But the point being, I'm glad we invented indoor plumbing because it wasn't ever that pleasant. There was hardly a perfect temperature to be out in the outhouse. Let's put it that way.
I will say, I was in Wyoming. We were fracking. We were on a frack job. We were in Douglas, Wyoming. It must have been 60 below. And the warmest physical place you could be was in the blue latrine.
Yeah.
And I'd like, you didn't want to be in there very long, but it was
well, there's that too. Yeah.
It was just nice to go and sit down for a second and not freeze.
Because what was it? Probably only 30 below in that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like
a little sauna.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. That's valuable information though, Richard.
Yeah.
Extremely valuable. What is that? I was looking for a reference to something and I can't find it at the moment. It'll come to me though. If it happened 20 years ago, I'd probably remember everything about it. But yeah. Anyways. Well, that's pretty good gear grinding too, I think. So unless do you have anything else in particular about grinding your gears? Just curious.
No. You have something to grind your gears about?
Not fully. I've been keeping up with much of the other outside world stuff. Besides the fact that, like, I saw somebody sent me a map that I'll go real quick. Somebody sent me a map today of the US. I've not validated all of it, but it showed like unrestricted states and mass requirement states and something about the vaccines. And, it's like, there's getting to be a bigger chunk every day of like unrestricted states. And I think like 30 of 32 football teams are like, yeah, we're going to be 100% capacity. So my gear grinding is like, what the crap is up with these other people who still haven't just let people go be free, basically? And then just think how I say that out loud, let people go be free. They already are. They just aren't being free. That really gets on me. And so I had a pretty good discussion with a friend of mine recently about like, somebody's got to do something. And he's like, well, you can't, like, people can't lose their license and stuff. I'm like, well, maybe it's not an individual business, it's the Chamber of Commerce, the League of Cities or something. There's got to be this other massive resistance to this overall that has to keep coming, because every day that goes by, there's more and more evidence that everything that we did was stupid and people need to get the freedom again. So I'm not gonna.
Oregon State employees cannot stop wearing a mask until they get vaccinated.
Do they have to prove they've been vaccinated?
Yep.
Yeah. See, that seems just, well, that seems illegal. I'll just put it that way, I suppose.
My mom tried to explain to me why it wasn't, but yeah, I think it's illegal. I think it's a violation of the
well, HIPAA for sure, I would think.
Or you can't trap people,
or you
can't go in. You can't trap people. You can't. What is it? You can't.
The Fifth Amendment.
One of the amendments makes it so you can't Yeah, is that also the cover of the soldiers in people's houses? Is that the sixth?
That's the sixth, but the Fifth Amendment is like I don't want to self-incriminate. Is what the Fifth Amendment is.
Yeah.
That's a great
So,
point.
and the biggest thing that one of our biggest things in this country we have to overcome is medical privacy. So it should work both ways. Your vaccine
Well,
should,
1,000%.
yeah. Anyways,
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's like, you've been vaccinated. Do you like anal sex? What? Both completely inappropriate questions. So I thought I'd ask one back to you.
I got to give a shout out to Rand Paul. He's holding tight on his gun, get vaccinated. So
yeah, I think like I
already wonder how many of those. I wonder how many people actually. How many people? I wonder how many people that are government or elected officials lied about getting the vaccine but didn't actually get it.
Probably at least half. I don't know. Like you see all these when some of the first people were getting it, you see the video, like I didn't see anything in that. Yeah.
What I'm going to kick out of is the infection rates.
Yeah.
Still getting COVID after the fact, but it may just be disappearing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple
months. Again, it's not naturally occurring. I think we're finally coming around the fact that it might have come from that lab, but no matter what, it's still a coronavirus that lives in the environment for not, it doesn't like UV, it doesn't like cold, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's everywhere. So it's going to die. So I think, and it's going to evolve. Like the rest of the earth is going to kill that shit off. So.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know. I heard earlier that most times when we have a viral pandemic in the history, they just stopped, and a lot of people still to this day don't have any. Know. Yeah, they're going along pretty good, and it was gone.
Yeah, it's like Forrest Gump, and one day it was just done. Like it just stops. Yeah. I think it's just evolutionary. They naturally run their course. I think they don't find any more hosts. The environment shifts, we shift, and there's nowhere for them to go, them being that virus. And I think it just burnt itself out half the time. Like I really do, because we can't point to what we've done in the past besides just keep on living. That's my whole point. So,
well, there's this fascinating thing that, like, with herds of people or herds of animals or people that live together for a long time, like that old saying, you start to look like your dog.
Yeah.
You start to look like your spouse. That actually has to do with RNA. As in the atmosphere, so like a herd over several generations will actually homogenize because of the swap of RNA. That what we understand about DNA and RNA is minimal.
Yes.
But what we're starting to learn is amazing. So maybe the best thing that we could have ever done was everybody get infected, and the transfer of RNA that also would be the same as, maybe that's what eventually just kills it, is because I beat it or whoever beat it.
Coronavirus. And you share that. And
we just interacted enough, and maybe by stretching it out, we could have shortened it by actually
doubt.
Yeah. So
no doubt. Yeah, I still maintain that after the first, it was that 2 weeks, so that the hospitals don't get overran. And when shit didn't really go off the rails like it was supposed to, it should have been green flag racing right then and there.
And there's a novel thing that not many people will probably talk about for 10 more years, is maybe the RNA that we have evolved with is actually better than RNA that we modify.
I have zero doubt about that. I always think that we're going to do it better naturally than what we can dial up somewhere. 99% of the time. That's just the miracle of our body. So,
well, yeah, I haven't yet seen an existence where humans beat evolution.
Nope. That's why I always giggle, man. We give ourselves way too much credit for the impact we have on this earth. But guess what? When it's tired of us, we're gone. Yeah, we are literally pimples on a pimple. So that's why I giggle. I'm like, No, you might think we're all badass in that, but seriously, one volcano and this whole son bitch is done. Like nuclear winter, we're gone. Like, so just get over it, relax, enjoy your day. Go have a steak and drive your big block. So
I got a kick out of Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was talking. He says, "Yeah, we just landed a new rover on the Mars. It has a helicopter. The helicopter, and the average temperature is Mars is 110 below zero. Texas had a winter storm, and half the power went out." He goes, "Don't tell me we're applying all our brain power to the right things."
I really can't argue that. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. Well, I've just received a text update from Mr. Rawls because he had the upcoming entertainment spotlight, and he has picked Caddyshack for us to delve into. And I don't remember if we watched it already or not. I don't care because it's one of my favorite all-time movies. So even if we have, just be the ball. Just stay out of the lumberyard. Don't get caught night putting with the 15-year-old daughter of the deans. Mitch Kumstein. Yes. So 100% one of my all-time favorite movies. So Rawls, he able to poke his head out for a second and get us our next entertainment spotlight, which would be Caddyshack. So Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, the usuals. So Caddyshack 1, not part 2. But
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney, beautiful Rodney. You had a Kenny Loggins theme song, which was pretty much the mark of approval back then. A Harold Ramis movie. If you want some entertainment, also just go look it up on YouTube, and for some of the behind the scenes, the quote unquote making of Caddyshack is one of the greatest stories. The writing of it and how they were doing it, one of the famous things is at one point they're like, we don't have Chevy Chase and Bill Murray in the same scene, and they just came up with that. The night when Chevy's playing golf at night and it's crushed fender bins, and like that was just totally pulled out of thin air because they kind of hated each other. But you were going to say something, I believe, until I was telling my random story.
There's a Netflix documentary about Caddyshack that's amazing.
Oh, outstanding.
It's about the guy that wrote it, but it's mostly about getting.
I think I might have seen that. I can't think of the name of it, but it's really good.
A futile and stupid gesture.
Yes, that is it. Because he
was
with Lampoons, right? Is that where they came from?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they literally just found his shoes on an Outlook in Hawaii. Have no clue where he's gone to.
Mm-hmm.
It's disappeared one day.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. So check that out on Netflix too. It's a great compliment to the Caddyshack movie. It's once you see some of the behind the scenes stuff and hear some of the stories, and then you watch it, you're like, wow, I can't believe this even came out like it did, because it still holds true today. So,
and it's Chevy Chase and Bill Murray at their most coked up state.
Oh, everybody, like briefcases full of coke. Like it was, yeah.
It was truly the heyday of Saturday Night Live.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's what makes it all the more miracle too. Just to think about all the chaos that was going on, and to still hold true today. Like it's what like I don't know anybody's ever played golf and not at least said a quote from it or heard somebody else, no, be the ball. Just
what's blowing my mind is all of a sudden all these younger kids are discovering Spies Like Us.
Really?
Yes, I saw a post on social media. They're like, "This is the most brilliant movie ever. How come I didn't know about it?"
Why don't you gentlemen have a Pepsi? Yeah.
Doctor.
Miss Donna Dixon, y'all. Yeah. Bob Hope, of course. That movie.
Oh yeah, he was classic in that one.
Yeah, mind if I play through? Yeah. I hope I don't get sick. I love that movie. I've probably seen that as many times or more than I've seen Caddyshack. It's just,
Chevy Chase is best. Caddyshack, Spies Like Us,
and Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. That is like the classic combination right there of like, I just love Aykroyd's, his capabilities, but and Chevy's bullshitting, and so it's just
Who filled it? Chevy Chase was originally supposed to be a Ghostbusters, but his part went to Bill Murray.
I think because Chevy never would commit, like fully commit. Yeah, I think is what it was. So yeah, or maybe that was on Caddyshack. No, anyways, yeah, there's a lot of back and forth because Ramis did both of those movies as well, so he was in Ghostbusters too. But and he was with Bill Murray in Stripes, so a lot of history with him. But yeah, that's we can just do the whole Harold Ramis catalog basically. But
yeah,
Spies Like Us is just it's a bigger than bread box. Like there's so many great moments. Every moment you don't tell me who you are, I cut off a finger. Yours or mine? Yours. Damn. Like
I think it was only made better because it was it came out as the same time as another comedy spy movie that was actually horrible with Dustin Hoffman. Ishtar.
Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty.
So bad that I think it actually elevated Spies Like Us.
I've never even seen it, but I just remember just being touted as one of the worst movies ever made. Was Ishtar, and I've neber seen it. I can see like the movie posters like in the sand or something, and then Spies Like Us was just had a great catchy song by whoever did that song was great, and then. But yeah, the other GLG 20s and all the Cloak and Dagger stuff, and it's freaking hilarious, dude. The Ace Tomato Company, brilliant. So, yeah, that'll get everybody some time to talk about. So, awesome, Rawls, great pick. We missed you, buddy. So I even got some Reacher mail. And one of the things people are always like, man, you didn't talk about when we were. And I'm like, half the time I forget because here's how I'll get feedback from a lot of people, and it's nothing against. I always tell them like this cracks me up when this happens. I'll be at work or wherever, and I'll just get this random text from somebody, and it's just like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what in the crap are you talking about? And it's somebody who's listening to the podcast for 2 weeks ago, and they'll just fire off a response to something that we said, and they'll send me that response with like zero context, not like, hey, I was just listening to the 2 episodes ago when you guys were talking about nah. And it's like here's a specific quote. I'll read you this one. It's from a friend of ours, and she wrote it here. I'm going to scroll back just real quick. I thought I had it wrote down in the mail. I get this Monday, 10:21 a.m. Quote, you're on Naked and Afraid, and you've got your little stick. That's it. That's the text I get from somebody, and that's feedback. It's Monday, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the crap are you talking about? Seriously. So she's like, oh, that was on your podcast. I had to laugh out loud. And she's like, that's what Richard opened up the convo about the animal kingdom with. And I was like, oh, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. But it's literally, yeah.
I would just I'd like to enlighten everybody, as viewers. We may be a couple reachers short, but this is a good preview of what it's like to go to the bar with Micah and I.
Tremendously, yes.
Yeah, this is basically we are sitting across the table from each other and drinking Guinness.
And just randomly, so, laughing about random shit.
If you ever just want to come and drink some beer, this is a good preview of what you're going to be getting.
Yeah, exactly. Because we'll tell more stories, and then it goes down the hill, and then we'll usually make a bet with somebody random about something. Anyways,
and we always talk about the hitchhiker we picked up in Baker.
Yes. Hey, you got about 2 hours and $80. You buy us beers, we'll tell you the story. So it's so I'll get to some of the more of the mail, but I wanted to just tell everybody, please keep sending those texts, because I do. We always respond, but it just slays me. Spoon did the same thing earlier. Just get these out of nowhere when they're listening to it and they think something's funny or whatever. They send a comment. So I try to get them all captured, but sometimes I just get so distracted I forget. But here's a few comments from the last episode or two. Our good friend Big D, who's down in Texas, said, hey, dummy, the Richard play-by-play left something to be desired on the audio version. So I need to kick up my color commentary skills and really kind of
Oh.
set the scene more than I just sort of commentated along what's going on. So I took his advice, and if we ever have another situation like that, which we probably will with somebody, I'll do a better job at setting the scene and actually where we are at. So yeah. Our good friend Seaman in Oregon. Hey, here's a word of the week for y'all. Cockwomble. A person, usually male, prone to making outrageously stupid statements and or inappropriate behavior while generally having a very high opinion of their own wisdom and importance. And that was on a picture of Dr. Fauci. And so I had to laugh. Coy, thanks for sending that in. That was great.
I was thinking maybe they were suggesting we rename the podcast that.
It might be also Cockwomble. That would be the probably like for like the UK version. Did you catch that? Cockwomble? Nah, shite, total shite. So yeah. So those are the couple. And then I actually did have Rock in South Carolina. Richard's opening conversation about Animal Kingdom and being on Naked Afraid with a little stick was hilarious. And so is Joel. So I thought that was pretty good. So that's some more recent Reacher mail. I know I missed a couple phone calls from people. Mouse, sorry about that. Mouse is always a good listener, calls in some good comments. But yeah, I absolutely love when I get your text or messages completely out of the blue because you're listening to the podcast and decide to share what you're doing. So it makes my day, even though I'm always like, what the hell are you talking about? Because I don't know. I don't remember the reference. So we'll just say that. But
I've been thinking, I think that there's certain of our group podcasts that we need to screen capture and share on the Facebook page. Not all of them, but certain our Reachers group text.
Oh, that's a good idea. We could do that.
Yeah.
Some behind the scenes. Yeah.
Then
sure.
we could you could screen capture some of our feedback and just post it for everybody to see.
That's not a bad idea. Man, that's a great idea, Richard. Well done, sir. Well done. You know, actually, I'll write that down. Yeah. That way I get it captured and everybody gets to enjoy it in a different medium as well. So well done. Do you have anything for buying stuff? We haven't done that in a while because I think Joel finally got his pickup. So
yeah, he's not so worried about us now.
No, see, I see how that goes. Dirtbag.
What was I trying to buy? I've mostly been buying lead generation things for real estate.
Interesting.
That's pretty boring.
Can be. I mean, I subscribe to LinkedIn Sales Navigator today, so I think.
Oh, yeah. Tell me how that works.
I'm digging it so far. Let me tell you, it's I think it's like $80 a month for that one. Yeah, but the filtering and it kind of almost brings like a built-in CRM to that because you can put in your criteria, you can search accounts. You can search leads from each of those accounts and then it saves them. You can take notes. You get more in messages, obviously. So I just started it today, but I was pretty impressed. So
good to know.
And since we're talking about nerdy stuff and buying it, there's another program that I think Raquel actually told me about called Vidyard.
Oh, no, wait. Oh, yeah. I know which one. Yeah.
For recording yourself or on the screen or blah blah blah, and it sends links to people for video messages because people apparently they respond well to that. And so there's I'm using the free version right now. It's great. So you can record your little video and it does the thumbnail, and then each one has a unique code, obviously, so you can copy paste that, and it puts a little preview in the email, so it's not just a weird link. But for your stuff, maybe like real estate, like, hey, found this listing you might be interested in, and here's a blah blah blah. Give them like 20 or 30 seconds and send them that video link. They might chomp that up. So
I did do that for one, and I got two, but I never got back. I just almost said one thing I hate the most. I never got back to doing it. So I almost said circled back around.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. I giggled about that today because that phrase has been ruined for me. And so I don't say it anymore.
The other thing I'm trying to strike from my vocabulary is busy. So I've basically replaced busy with 9-0. So
you're going 9-0. Yeah. I like that one. I haven't used that in a while. Freaking going 9-0, man. Assholes and elbows, ladies. That's not as quite as appropriate as 9-0. It depends on your audience. But I check out Vidyard. I like it.
I will.
If you're talking about
I
buying
don't have much
stuff.
time to buy things. So.
Well, there you go. I haven't either.
Yeah.
I'm good at the moment, I think.
Anybody can tell me where to get a decent RV ATV, that'd be great.
What are you looking
Used functions.
for? ATV.
They're almost as hard to get a hold of as vehicles anymore. Things are getting a little. I'm hoping now that everybody's getting out of this COVID slump that we're going to start making stuff again. Because
be nice, yes, because prices are insane and so is supply. So yeah, beautiful. So yeah, those are my two recommendations if you're talking about buying stuff. Sales Navigator, I think, is well worth the money so far, and definitely looking at Vidyard as far as being able to record personalized messages and get them out, and you get a good notice when people look at it. You notice every time that they look at it, you get an update. So yeah, and I also like that HubSpot calendar thing. If you're open to that too, when people just booking time with you, I think that's pretty handy. You don't, because you can set it to whatever you want. So people always freak out, like, you leave your calendar open. I'm like, no, I have certain, like, one day it's completely blocked off, and one day it's like noon to like 7 p.m. because if people like in New Zealand or Australia or over there need meetings, then that's usually when we do it, is in the evenings here. So I have that open. But anyways, I'm rambling on that, but I think it's a cool deal. So if you're looking to not be bogged down with the back and forth, like, can you meet Tuesday at 3? No, I gotta, and then there's the time zone and all that crap. Just put that shit on the button. It's pretty easy.
I tried Calendly for a while, and I found it equally as easy to blow those meetings off also. So
there you go. If you don't pay attention to your calendar, then it doesn't really matter.
I do pay attention to my calendar, but sometimes I want to do something else more.
Understandable. Yes, that sometimes recalls for a reschedule, or depends on how important that meeting is, I suppose.
And I was really laissez-faire. I guess that maybe that's not the word. I was really open to talking to everybody that would hit me up and want to visit. It just got overwhelming. So I was trying to calendar thing. Yeah, and I just because I really do. People want to chat with me about different things, and I really do want to spend that. But then when you have actually paying customers and you have cows and you have a 3-year-old, your time gets eaten up really fast.
Yeah, I would suggest a smaller block then for that free-for-all time.
Yeah. I barely can fit this podcast in. So
exactly. I know. Thank you.
About how tight my schedule is.
It's chaotic at best. So,
but this is still a highlight. If I'm going to fit anything in during a week, this is what I try and make sure I get to.
Me too. I really I do actually look forward to this. It's not like, oh crap, I got to do the podcast. And it's like, no, I get to see the gang and talk random shit, because we honestly have zero idea where these conversations are going to go. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So it's fun when I'm trying to capture it. What's that? What'd you say?
We don't stand for scripting around here.
No, sir. That hurt you the first time. Yeah. Well, should we finish up with our best thing of the week, Mr. Richard? Do you have anything for us besides your wife's straight hair?
That's pretty good. Kid came back. That's good. We had.
That's right. Yeah.
So, slowly getting the lot. I'm down to about maybe 60 cattle I have to find a home for. Okay. So, a bunch of them are going to go to the sale. Oh, I topped the sale at Fallon with my replacement heifers. Never in my life have I ever topped. It'd have to be in the middle of a drought, but hey, if you're gonna top the sale in the middle of something,
congratulations, man.
I was like, that's pretty good for middle of the road cows. So I'm not one that's overly proud of my animals. They serve the function that they need to function, and they're not showcase cattle by any means. They're not pintos. They're just like a nice, good driving car, like a Camry or an Altima. Or
there's a lot of demand for something you can just get in and start every day, though.
Yeah, they're not Lamborghinis.
Nope.
So
that's awesome. Dude. Yeah. Congratulations.
When you don't have the Lamborghini, it's tough to top the sale. But sometimes what is it?
There's a sleeper under that hood right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was nice. That probably is going to be a once in my lifetime thing. So
Hey.
that'll be awesome.
Can't ever take it back. Done it.
Yep.
Check it off. Yeah. Sweet, dude.
Oh, I will tell you. So I sold three of them before they got out of the truck to some guy that's been helping us. So I said, well, he's telling me all the things. Like he's guessed 70 cents under what they sold for. So I said, well, it's hard to gauge the market. So let me sell them. You can take them now and buy them from me when we find out what they sell for.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So, I had to tell the poor bastard. Said, anyways, we're gonna do a little slide on it so that it's not it doesn't seem so bad, because he thought he was getting a hell of a deal because the market's in the toilet right now. Anyways, he picked the worst cattle to buy on the West Coast that week.
That's why I was giggling so much. He was like, this guy helps us out all the time, wants to buy a few head. Yeah, sure. Know what prices are going to be, but we'll figure it out, and then, yeah.
It even gets worse for the poor guy because he was branding them and ran them through the chute, and one jumped out of the chute, broke her back. So, yeah. Anyways, I'd tell him, I said, that's the cattle market, bud. That's tough.
Yeah. You might as well.
I lost 2 of the first 3 cows I bought within the first 2 years.
I was going to say, you might as well get that shit over with up front, because
you're not going to find much sympathy from me. So,
exactly. Like, only 1 out of 3. That's not bad. Yeah. You might make a go of it. Yeah.
We'll see if he's got what it takes to stick.
Yeah. That's going to be an opening chapter in your book at some point. That's awesome.
So man. He needs to go visit with Bloomberg because apparently they got their wires crossed.
Turns out, yeah, super easy. Oh, damn. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty much it right there. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Best thing in the week. It's just been, I want to say it's been busy. Things have been flowing well. Like getting some traction, and a lot of things are just moving in the right direction, I think, and starting to move and pick up. So it's just a general overall uptick in all the activity. And then, heading home to see my dad for a few days. That'll be fun because there's always random projects that make me pull my hair out, but I giggle at the end. So, and taking the runner on the first real road trip. So we'll see how that she holds up. So we'll see.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but you had something I sort of wanted to see if you are seeing this also. But I think the reason that everybody's so busy is because there's less people doing shit.
I would agree.
What's that? Like I had friends that went down to Arizona to see if they wanted to live there. They were beating people off because they're so desperate to have people go work there. So anyways, like one of them got 3 offers to be a manager at a retail store, and the other one got an immediate job at Buffalo Wild Wings during prime time. He's gonna make $400 or $500 a day in tips.
Wow.
No problem. No questions. Just they're like,
you're a human and you want to show up.
And and they're both perfectly capable, bright people, so they're gonna just kill it. But that people are desperate for people to work right now.
I think I've seen that as well. It's just like, oh, you're actually out there doing business and like talking, like, hello, like, thank you. I think, I think it's probably yes. Hello, people, humans. Hello. Yeah, especially I think sales and service, both of those. Certainly retail people probably just killing for people as well, just to be there to do the job that they need and they're going to show up. So I think it's a time now. If you're motivated and on fire, you could probably set yourself up well. I think
Yeah, I see you're looking for a sales associate.
we are indeed. Yes, we are indeed. And probably looking for somebody else in business development to work with me in the next 3 to 6 months, or another salesperson. So yeah, and
Are you getting your typical response of people looking for that job, or is it a little light?
I don't know. I'm not wrangling on that one, so I'm not sure yet. I haven't talked to the guy that's actually running that position, but I'm guessing probably getting pretty solid response. Part of it is probably if they want him to be here in Gainesville or if they want him to be remote. I think that'll be a factor. But I think that's still, I can't believe it to a degree. I think there's ways to make that both. Like you'll be here once a quarter for a week or something. I think works well too. So we'll see. But yeah, that's a good question. I need to find out how we're recruiting's going on that, because I'm guessing there's some pretty good people to be had right now too.
Yeah, I think so.
Good solid people.
I think everybody sort of did a gut check during this last 18 months, and like, yeah, I'm gonna do something I want to do, or like I'm not going back to that work job. I'm either gonna work remotely or I'm not gonna do it.
I think so too. Yeah.
So
yeah. For me, it was about what's important for me as far as happiness and what I have, and not necessarily material things. So that was the one thing that really hit home for me, is about friends and experiences and just what's really important. So that was cool. Sucked, but it was cool. Sucks when I think about the Bitcoin I had to sell when I lost my job, because it was sort of like just play money at that time, But
yeah,
I think Bitcoin was around maybe 3,000 at that point. It was either that 1,800 to 3,000 range. And I was like, I need that money now. So of course, this will be one of my famous stories that I'm like 80, Yeah. So I sold it all. And yeah, it's only way many more times that now. So
it did drop. It did drop a third. So
yeah, but if I'd have had that when it was at 60 or 70, 68 or whatever it was, and I'd owned it at 1,800, I think, or 2,000 or whatever I bought it at, yeah, probably would have been a pretty skate year, like most of my house. One of those.
I freaked out in 2015 when it, or 16, I can't remember which year, when it got up to 1,100. I was like, oh, this train's insane. I'm getting off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But dude, it could have went to 3. I mean, then you've been like, damn it. So you just don't know. You just don't know, man. So what the hell? But well, you got anything else for the good of the order? We have talked just about as long with 2 of us as we always do with 4. Which doesn't surprise me at all. And we've relatively stayed. I think even for us, we kind of stayed on track to a great degree. So I was pretty impressed by that. But anything to add? How's you got a plug for Ranch and Range? What's that called?
Ranch and Range is I'm hoping to do another. I just posted a good one with Jason Morrow that's doing the Carbon Summit. That's really fascinating guy. So that's coming up pretty soon.
That's in June, isn't it? Next week? Week after? Soon, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's even rolled out the tickets yet, so that's going to be a tight one. I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but yeah, I'll be in Idaho for that.
Cool.
But yeah, Ranch Rage is sort of spits and jerks, but once the cattle get out, and then they'll have to immedately come back in. So yeah. I'm thinking maybe fall. No, but I'm blanking on her name right now. That's terrible, but I'm gonna visit a girl that raises horses and takes pictures from South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Really amazing artist and advocate for ranching in a beautiful part of the world.
Oh yeah,
really the earth. So I'm gonna visit with her. I'm gonna visit with AgWeb pretty soon about their platform. and I'm hoping to visit with Trevor from Rio Max because he's one of the most fascinating people
He's a
in
cool cat.
agriculture.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
what he's doing.
So yeah, he's all over the board. So
Yeah,
I got it. They'll be dribbling out. There'll be content coming, and been trying to write something. It has just been insane. I cannot describe how busy I have been lately. And I just said the 4-letter word, but
I know.
it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a
I've
good problem to have, though.
Yeah, I've had to get up at 4 o'clock. Or it's Wednesday now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Actually, recording early. Yeah,
yeah. I've been up at 3:30, 4 o'clock 2 days out of this week, and rolling in the house about 7, 9.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, crazy times.
It is. And so, yeah, so sometimes people will ask us, like, hey, how come it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks since you had a podcast? Well, A, sometimes I'm lazy. B, all of us got random shit going on. Both Rawls and Richard actively ranching, and it's, we've talked several times where it's 3 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sometimes there's just not time. So we ask you to bear with us on that too. If we miss a week here and there, just go back and listen to some of the best of, and send us some of your comments. So we'll be back. Don't worry. So
I had by 7 o'clock this morning, I had sorted 40 pair out by myself.
Nice. By yourself. Yeah.
DNA 2 bulls and hauled them to Lakeview by 9. And met my first customer at 12. And so
it's like those old Army commercials. We do more by 8 a.m. than most people do all day long. Yeah.
I felt guilty when I stopped at the store to get coffee and a breakfast sandwich, but by that time it was like lunch. So yeah,
it's a meal. I'm hungry. I'm gonna stop and get something to eat. Yeah. It's my boss asked me today. He's like, just when exactly do you get to the office? And I'm like, usually by about 6:30, maybe 6:45 if I'm still farting around. And he's like, why? Because that's when I get up and like to do stuff. So yeah, but I'm jamming out of here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm freaking done, man. So
brains off.
Yeah, exactly. Tonight I got home at 6 because we had a call. Actually, it was New Zealand, so we had a call for them. It was early in the morning for them, and it was started at 4:30 or whatever for me. So it happens, but yeah, I just gonna hit it, be there early. So oh well. So yeah, we'll be looking for updates too from your ranch and range when those come out. Those are interesting, and then we'll go from there. So I think this has been a fun episode. I think those two other a-holes don't know what they missed out on. So Joel, I hope you shot good golf. Rawls, I hope Rawls was having some pickup work or something done today. He didn't know when and where he was going to be at all. So it was kind of like working with the cable guy. So we missed those guys, but we'll get them back next episode. So guys, remember when you're listening, share this with your friends or your enemies. We're here on the YouTube, we're on Facebook and all the major platforms for your podcast and pleasure. If you subscribe, then you get a notice whenever it comes out. You don't have to wait. Like, hey, when's the next episode? Came out yesterday. Oh, cool. So hit that little subscribe button to that like and leave us your comments. I'll try to do what Richard suggested and maybe take some screenshots of our random conversations every once in a while and throw those on the Facebook for some color commentary, if you will. And keep the quotes and the movie suggestions coming, and always keep the Reacher mail rolling in. And until then, just keep on reaching, and we'll let you go till the next time. So enjoy, kids.